Hey guys, how you doing? It's Jason at Hard Money Bankers and Ian Horowitz at Equity Warehouse. And we'll do a formal introduction of Steve and Alex momentarily so they can introduce themselves. But first, obviously, thanks for joining us. We have a super fun show ahead. Today is Thursday, April 9th. As everybody knows, we've been timestamping all these shows since things have been changing so rapidly. I feel like in real estate, every day is, some of the information we're talking about today might be different than tomorrow. So on this show, we typically interview other real estate experts and get their opinions of what they're currently seeing in the market, how it's affecting them, how they're adapting to their businesses and their mindsets, obviously, during these times. Being on the front lines daily and actively still investing and lending, along with chatting with so many other industry pros and experts, it really gives us the ability to share with everyone collectively what we're seeing. And, as you know, we've been emphasizing that right now, we've been very, very optimistic. I know a lot of people are nervous. Obviously, we're in very unfortunate times, but we've just been very optimistic of the industry. Now, obviously, along with optimism, we're very, very cautious going into this right now. But we feel like there's just been a lot of opportunities, and if you can kind of just keep things moving, keep positive energy and positive mindset, you'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, definitely. Those are all valid points. I know that a lot of people are saying, hey, you guys are super optimistic. And I think it's very easy to be. You sent a good video over to me and a few other guys this morning, Jason, the one with Simon Sinek, and saying now's the time to adapt. Now's the time to overcome. Now's the time to amend your business, just like Blockbuster didn't amend their business when streaming service came alive. Now's the time as real estate investors for us to potentially amend, change our business, and see what we can do in the future. And that brings me to who I want to introduce today. We're very lucky to have on Steve Cavanaugh and Alex Pardow, both from Ascend. They have an awesome mastermind group. I know I've had very, very deep dive conversations with Steve on mindset, lifestyle, and all those good things, as well as Alex. We did a group call one time. So Steve and Alex, if you guys want to do a quick introduction to yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Jake, for having us on. Yeah, so my name's Steve Cavanaugh. I've been a full-time real estate investor going on 16 years now. I own and operate Southern Maryland Home Buyers company in Maryland. I live down in West Palm Beach, Florida. So I remotely do a number of deals a year. And then, of course, I've got a hard money lending operation up there. I've got a coaching group. And, of course, I partner with Alex Pardow here on Ascend. And I used to run Southern Maryland's biggest RIA, which is called the Southern Maryland Real Estate Investors Group. We were an organization of about 1,600 people.
Yep. Jason, Ian, first off, thank you for having us on. Love doing these calls and just connecting and providing our insight and perspective and just adding value. So I got started in this business full-time in 2005. I came from the corporate world, worked for GE, consumer finance. Did that for a couple of years, was not for me. Did not, enjoy working 70 hours for somebody else. What amounted to, $20 an hour or something when you figure out all the hours. I got started in this business 2005, been doing it full time ever since. I started coaching people in 2012 and quickly found out that that's where the passion and fulfillment comes from. Real estate's a vehicle for me. We have a wholesaling operation here in South Florida. I also own some rentals in Cleveland and do some lending. And about 4 years ago, I launched the Flip Empire Show, which is a podcast that gives me an opportunity to connect with other investors across the country and just kind of sharing not just what's working, but also my failures, lessons learned, what's not working. And that's the kind of stuff that I think people can really learn from, not so much, posting the flashy checks and the cars and all the success, but behind all that success, there's a lot of failure that all entrepreneurs are faced with, but it's how you overcome that, right?
Right, exactly. And actually that brings us to a point to talk about real life experiences of, positive and negative. What are you guys doing right now, specifically in your real estate business, work through the current situation of the shutdown? I don't know how it is in Florida. Steve, I know you're still working in Southern Maryland. Alex, what's going on in Florida? What are you guys seeing right now locally, and how are you guys dealing with it?
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. At least here I can speak to Miami, and I think this probably applies for most parts of the country. In my opinion, we've quickly turned from a seller's market into a buyer's market. And so we're finding that acquiring properties has become a little bit easier, whereas 2-3 months ago, everybody was out targeting motivated sellers. we're finding that we're placing more of an emphasis and a focus on the disposition side of the business. A lot of our active cash buyers are kind of on the sideline, and are taking a little bit more of a cautious approach. And then we've also connected with buyers that are well capitalized and are looking for opportunity. And so we've placed more of an emphasis on the disposition side of the business. I think, I'm a big fan of collaboration. And so there's been more of an effort on our end to joint venture with other people in order to get deals moved. I believe now more than ever to keep the inventory moving. I don't think now is the time to necessarily swing for the fences as far as, trying to get top dollar, but keep the inventory moving, because we all know that there's so much changing on what feels like a day-to-day basis that, if you're out there rehabbing, make sure that you're not getting caught with your pants down, so to speak, on a really, really large rehab that's going to take 6 to 9 months. And so we've adjusted and tightened up our buy box. And I think the last thing I'll say, and I'll kick it over to Steve, is we're not putting all our eggs in the South Florida market anymore. Now we're looking at, we're launching a campaign. We're getting into Kansas City. We're going into Cleveland as well, because we already have a footprint in those 2 markets. So we're starting to, it's given us an opportunity to get sharper as far as doing deals on the phone. We've always been direct to seller, belly to belly. And now we're having to not acquire new skills, but sharpen certain skills as far as doing deals on the phone.
Yeah. So Alex is a wholesaler. I primarily am a rehabber. I run a rehabbing business. So I think the most important thing for us is just we need to be paying a lot of attention to what our buyers, our retail end buyers, their financing picture looks like. So that's probably one of the most important things. Make sure that your buyers are super qualified. Make sure that everybody on the other side of the transaction now more than ever is going to be easy to work with and professional, know what they're doing, know how to get the deals done. Make sure you're not overpricing your rehabs. Make sure that you're pricing them to get out the door. And to Alex's point, also make sure that you're not taking on something that's a behemoth. The key word is nimble. You always want to be nimble, be able to get in and out of any deals that you get into. I will say that I've sensed now in the past couple of weeks much more scarcity on the minds of sellers. In other words, I think it's easier to lock in a better deal right now. Sellers are willing to put a much better deal out there, give you a much better buy on the stuff that you're buying right now if you're able to use this as a reason to get a better deal, which you should be doing.
Yeah, those are all awesome points, and we've seen a lot over the past few days with everybody we've been interviewing. This is our 14th or 15th interview since this has all started. So I guess that means the quarantine's over, right? We've done 14 days. No, I'm just kidding.
We wish.
What's that?
We wish, man. We wish.
Yeah. Well, at least you guys got sunny, warm weather down there. We're still working on it up here.
It's beautiful, baby.
With that being said, it seems to be a common theme across it. Now, Alex, you brought up an interesting point about being belly to belly. Steve, I know you've been working from afar for a while now. What techniques can people utilize, or what stuff can people implement in their business to become, quote, a little more virtual, or take that step back and truly be the owner of the business and maybe not an operator? You guys get what I'm trying to get at here?
Yeah, I'll tackle that first. Alex will have a whole lot to say on this. Mine is very simple. Hire the right people. Right. I've got a girl that works for me as my operations manager up in White Plains, Maryland, and she runs everything that we do up there, from meeting with contractors to developing scopes of work to checking out houses and meeting with sellers and all that sort of thing. So as long as you plug the right people in, you're loyal to them, man. I mean, I've worked with a lot of the people that I've worked with for 10 plus years, and they've been on my team that long. So that is my easy, simple answers. Hire the right people.
Yeah. And it might be a simple, easy answer, but it's so true. I think every entrepreneur, we've all had our hiring battle scars. We've made our mistakes. I mean, God knows I have. And I think the more time you put in on the front end, as far as hiring the right person that's going to be a culture fit, core value fit, et cetera, just the better chance that person is the long-term answer. I was listening to a Dave Ramsey podcast not too long ago. I think it was on Lewis House podcast, and he was talking about Dave Ramsey has a 12-step interview hiring process. like literally 12 steps. It takes like a 3-month process. And he was just talking about the importance of like making sure that you understand the person, who their character is, their integrity. So completely agree with Steve as far as that's concerned. A mentor of mine told me years ago, we've all probably heard this: hire slow, fire fast. I could also speak to the flip side that when you have a team member that's not the right fit, the sooner you can pull the plug, the better, right? Because there's a huge opportunity cost in keeping that person in the wrong seat, essentially. And it's not their fault, it's our fault. As far as Ian, to answer your question, you were asking about doing deals virtually. Were you asking for like some tips about how people can get set up and how they can have success as far as that's concerned? Or
yeah, what techniques are you implementing to allow you to be a little more virtual? You're saying Kansas City or Cleveland or wherever you may have been, and you're saying you're doing a little less belly to belly deals. What does that mean, and what are you implementing?
Yeah, a great question. So, our model has always been, we got a bunch of marketing channels out there. We got calls coming in. We connect with sellers. We take them through a script and a sort of a sales process. And then our acquisition manager schedules an appointment to go meet with the seller, usually, hopefully that same day, if not the next day, and be belly to belly. And that appointment face to face is usually a 30 to 1 hour process, right? Now we've had to adjust that. We're pretty much self-quarantining ourselves. In Miami, we can still go meet with sellers, but my acquisitions manager wasn't very comfortable with the idea of going into strangers' houses. And we're finding that a lot of sellers are not comfortable with it as well. So I said, you want to know what? Screw going belly to belly, face to face. Let's do these deals over the phone. It can be done. You just have to modify your script and your approach. So we follow John Martinez's sales, essentially framework. And it's all about setting the expectations and using advanced agreements up front, letting sellers know. It's kind of like when you connect with a stranger or you meet a stranger, you're not really sure what's going to happen. But if you can lay out what the conversation is going to look like, we find that people bring their guard down. And I think the other tip that we're finding and we're having success with is the person on the phone is not the decision maker. In other words, when they're negotiating with the seller over the phone, they always have to get approval from like their purchasing manager or their partner or their underwriting department. And so it becomes me on the phone and the seller on one team trying to get this done. And so we found that works. We take them through a DocuSign process. We used to make a lot of mistakes where we would email the contract and then hope that they would sign it and then follow up with them. They would ghost us. So anyone doing deals on the phone, make sure that you set a follow-up appointment and don't email them the contract until they're actually in front of a computer and you can walk them through it, answer any objections that they might have.
Nice. Good stuff. Let's talk a little bit about your advice for gearing up for the near future. Obviously, right now, there's an argument that there's a consumer confidence issue. Locally in the DC, Baltimore area, we haven't seen a huge impact of real estate change yet. It just hasn't existed yet. Obviously distressed sellers aren't, right now it's somewhat of a pause, right? Like there's just not enough pain, with government stimulus and not being able to foreclose, not being able to evict. There's just not enough pain to unload properties. Same thing with landlords. In general, obviously, sellers are always going to need to sell, buyers are always going to need to buy, and I get all that. Sellers might need cash, so they're out there. But it's interesting because deals are still being had, obviously not on a large scale, but they're still being done every day. I mean, we're doing loans. We've cut back our lending, obviously, because we want to be more conservative on some of our stuff, but we're still doing about 75% of the loans. Everyone I know is still actively buying, obviously the right opportunities. They're cautious. They're not jumping into things that they're nervous about, but just as a whole, as an industry, there's still obviously the consumer confidence. And I think in our opinion, and I think you guys are going to agree, and I'm curious to see what you would recommend, gearing up for the future. Right now, hey, either you're sidelined completely as an investor, or hey, this is the time that I want to take a step back. I want to learn. I want to set up my team. Like, what are some steps right now to get in place? So as some of this stuff shakes up and some of the weaker investors or the investors that potentially aren't going to put in the hard work, potentially are going to get flushed out, investors can take right now to capitalize when the time comes the next few months.
Yeah. So I'll go on that. One of the things that I am very much in a cash preservation mode right now. I like to think of it like this. When everything's fluid, when the market is rolling, I like to be out there playing on the field. But right now, I like to be the coach on the stand, on the sidelines, standing there looking for my entry point to jump back onto the playing field. Now, that being said, I am always willing to buy the right stuff at the right price, no matter what. Okay, right terms, all that good stuff. But I really think it is wise. And keep in mind, I not only survived but thrived in 2008, 2009, 2010, right, with this strategy. And you just have to watch what the market's giving you and take what the market's giving you. There will be a different way to do business, and it's coming very soon. In fact, it's starting to materialize today. But and when everyone else knows about it, then it's too late, right? So I say stack your cash, stand on the sidelines, do what you got to do to make sure that you're ready to enter that game when that opportunity presents itself.
Yep. I'll double down on what he said. I mean, I think of the analogy of a really good running back. I don't know if you guys like football, but I think of somebody like Le'Veon Bell, who, like, you know, they hand him the ball and he always, like, you know, pitter patters back there for a couple of seconds and he's waiting for a hole. And I think a mistake that a lot of investors can make, because they're so opportunity driven and hungry, is to just go pounce on things. I think there's something to be said for, like, taking a step back and kind of surveying the landscape almost to a certain degree. And it really, look, I think the answer to this question depends on your position and your situation. I think, to Steve's point, if you've been preparing for this and you're well capitalized, I think it makes sense that you're actively keeping your eyes open for opportunity. But that's not to say that if you're not well capitalized and you haven't been positioning yourself for this, which what I believe is probably the majority of people out there, it doesn't mean you can't take advantage of opportunities. But what I truly believe is that you need to be investing that much more into the relationship capital side of the business, because you might not be well capitalized, but if you can bring value to the table, you know, leveraging your unique abilities, whatever that might be, there's people out there that have capital, but maybe don't have the resources you have or the connections you have. So I think self-awareness, you know, we were talking about Gary Vee before this. Gary Vee is always talking about self-awareness. And I think that's extremely important now more than ever. Is what resources, what assets do you have? And I'm not necessarily talking like money assets or real estate assets. I'm talking about like intangible assets. What do you bring to the table that you can potentially develop strategic alliances or plug certain holes that exist out there? So not sure if that answers your question, Jason, but that's what immediately comes to mind for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I've told a story to a few different people, and I know you guys haven't heard it, but you know, one of our buddies who also lends privately reached out to me. He's like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm sidelined. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, I'm just uncertain of what's going to happen right now. I'm sidelined. And I was like, why? Like, to me, that just doesn't make sense. Just cherry pick the best of the best deals, or get involved in only deals that work for you. And, you know, I understand that it's somewhat of a waiting game to see kind of what happens, but you know, I use the example of, so you're telling me if one of your good repeat borrowers reaches out to you and is buying a property for $400,000 and he needs $100,000 from you, and he'll put up the other 300, you wouldn't do it? And he was like, well, of course I would do that. And I was like, well, you're not out of the game yet. You're just waiting for the right opportunity. You know, the deals that you were lending on, or the deals that you were buying, or the deals that you were investing in 30 days from now, yes, no brainer. That's changed. That might not be the case. We might not be doing that. But there's also an argument, especially on the lending side, that the loans I write today are probably better than the loans I might have even written a month ago, right? You know, a month ago, we were doing 65% based off the after repair value. Today, we're at 50% based off the after repair value. And I hope that the deals that we wrote, I was very confident in our underwriting then that they're going to perform, and we wrote on a good piece of collateral and a good character that they're going to work out fine. But now we're just all adjusting accordingly. And listen, I understand that most people right now are not going to be able to invest in the deals that they want to invest in or believe that are strong enough to invest in. But I'm always a big believer of just keep on marketing, because we're just all in the marketing business. That's just what we do. And marketing, whoever has the most opportunities is going to win. It's that simple. And you know, like Alex and Steve were talking about, you know, now's the time to obviously take those proactive measures and figure out who you are, what your resources are, and, you know, potentially just, you know, be on the hunt. And when the deal comes, I mean, the worst thing you could do is hide under your bed, doom and gloom, and say, oh, I'm out of the space completely. Like, it's all falling apart. That's not Jason, the way.
Yeah. To your point, man, this topic isn't sexy because everybody understands the importance of mindset, but now more than ever, you know, you can't operate out of a place of fear. You know, when this first whole thing hit, Steve and I kind of huddled up and we said, you know, let's for our particular mastermind group Ascend, we said, we're going to lead people through this. Let's hop on a Zoom and let's start to share what we're seeing. It doesn't mean that we have all the answers. It just means that now's the time to step up as a leader. We're going to operate out of faith. We're going to again, survey the landscape, and we're not going to let fear paralyze us, because I think, Jason, to your point, you might be cautious on the sideline, but just ask if that's coming out of a place of fear, or are you being strategic about it?
Fair point.
Yeah, 100%. I know Steve's got to run at 1.
I'm actually good, Ian. My one canceled, so I'm good if we go over.
All right, well then I'm going to ask you the question either way, because I feel like this is an important one. You have a motto. I believe it's LLOV. Could you explain a little bit? And I think this goes back to everything that's going on right now, is that right now everyone's like, oh, I'm stepping back. I'm kind of like fearful and I'm chilling. But like in the same sense, like a lot of people are enjoying our time off.
Yeah.
And then us like that are grinders are like, okay, well now it's time to double down. Let's go. Where's that happy medium? And how can people come out of this that are normally grinders potentially come out on the other side and say, okay, well now I made my business to where I'm, hands off, or I'm not the on duty guy anymore. I'm actually the investor, along those lines.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways I go with this conversation, but the short answer is I don't know, man. When you figure it out, let me know. But I think one of the most important things to do is say, look, everybody's got that list that's been sitting around for the past couple of years of when I get a chance, I will do this. And on that list is usually systems, processes, documentation, the right hire. Right now is the time to dive into that stuff, so that on the other side of this, that you can come out, doing it. But I mean, back to kind of where I thought you were going at the beginning, I'll speak a little bit about just kind of the mindset around this whole thing. I mean, it's been probably 72 hours since I really completely kind of was able to wrap my head around what's going on. Because look, I mean, those of us who have talked, and Ian, I'm sure we had this conversation over a cigar back when it was December, November. But I mean, we know that this has been coming. We knew that something was coming. We didn't know what it was going to be, but we knew that something was coming. And I've spent the last 4 years kind of preparing for this moment. And it was still a shock to me. So, I think that in this moment, it's great to say, like kind of what Alex just said, and hey, look, now's the time to step up. Now it's time. But don't fool yourself, folks. If you guys are shocked out there and nervous about this and fearful about this, guess what? So is everyone else. So it's totally fine. Accept that, own that, label that, so you can deal with that and go from there. I mean, the bottom line is that there's so much of this stuff that we can't control. So we have to not try to control everything by working too much and all that stuff, because as entrepreneurs, that's like our drug of choice usually is work, speaking from experience here, got the battle scars for it. And at the end of the day, man, I mean, for me, I got to relax, man. I got to play my guitar. I got to do my yoga. You know what I'm saying? I got to just chill out. So, that's going to be something different for everybody. But, that is, I think, how you get through this time and go to work on that to-do list and do what you got to do right now to survive, but thrive on the other end of it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, you got any comments to say how necessary to, what the best way to maybe navigate lists or set up good processes? I know that's kind of more in your wheelhouse. What are the best ways to tackle some of these odds and ends and be able to get through the other side of this?
Yeah. So do you want me to first address kind of like processes and systems and kind of my whole thought process around that? So look, I think we all understand that if you have a business that doesn't have systems and processes and checklists and process maps, then it's not duplicatable, it's not repeatable, and it probably relies on you. And so if you go on vacation or if you get sick or whatever, then your business isn't really operating and moving forward. And 10 plus years ago, I read Michael Gerber's The E-Myth, and that totally just gave me it was a paradigm shift as far as the importance of having processes and systems. So everything in your business. I mean, when I coach people and they don't have systems and processes, one of the first things I tell them is track your time spent every 15 to 20 minutes for an entire week. Figure out where are you spending time. And then what I like to have them do is document that on a simple sheet of paper. It could be an Excel document. And you say, hey, what are the revenue generating activities that I enjoy? What are the revenue generating activities I don't enjoy? And then what are the non-revenue generating activities I enjoy? Non-revenue that I don't enjoy, and start to see where's the overlap between the revenue generating stuff and the things you enjoy. Focus on that, and then create a list and prioritize it from top to bottom. And every week, systematically go about the process of figuring out, do that process and document it. I like hopping on Loom. And so I'll take a big process and I'll chunk it down into 3 to 5 minute videos, and I'll just break down the entire process on Loom. So now I have a series of videos, and then I send it to my VA in the Philippines and I say, hey, I want you to transcribe this. And then I want you to break it down in bullet point format with like screenshots and call outs, make it so that I can give it to a 15-year-old and they can successfully do the task. When I first started documenting systems, I would create these hour-plus long videos, and then one small thing in the process would change, the website or something, and I'd have to go recreate the whole thing. Or if I gave it to a VA or a team member and they had a question, they would have no idea where in the video to go watch that, so they have to rewatch the whole thing. So those are my some quick tips as far as like figuring out what you need to get off your plate, what you need to outsource in the process of going about systematizing. And then I think to the second point, look, I'm still trying to figure out and navigate this new reality. I think for me, what I'm understanding more and more is that we have to adapt and adjust. The quicker we can do that and understand that this is our new reality, the better. But quite honestly, guys, like Steve, I'm a lifestyle guy. I'm not somebody who hustles 18-hour days. I'm very clear on my vision, and I've pretty much put tight boundaries around my working hours. And I spend a lot of family time. We love to travel. Admittedly, the last month, ever since this hit, I have been working more than I have in years, to the point where it was kind of a reality check. About a week ago, my 2-year-old came up to me and she said, basically, she told me to stop working. In a nutshell, she was like, Bobby, when are you going to like stop working? She basically told me that. And dude, it was like a gut punch. And I've been working all these hours. And so, man, I hopped on a Facebook Live. I remember the next morning and I was like, is this a season that I'm just in right now in which I have to double down and go hard because that's what's required? Or is there a balance, right? Do I need to double down, but at the same time still stay true to like what's most important to me? And the truth is I'm still kind of navigating those waters.
Yeah, no, good stuff. And it's all about quality, not quantity. You know, you can get done what you need to get done 1 hour a day. There's no point to work 8. And it's the same reason why, you know, the most successful real estate investors out there are only doing a few projects at a time and not 10, 20 a month with lots and lots of skinny margins.
Yep.
You know, I fully get it. There's one other thing I was going to say, comment on what you were just talking about. I don't know if it comes back to me, I'll let you know. Question for you. So pick out one good book or one good podcast each of you guys are currently listening to.
The Flip Empire, of course, is the
hey, man, I highly recommend this one right here.
Yeah, I mean, that could be one of yours, but not both.
So for me, wow, there's so many. So I'm a big podcast.
I know, there's so many going.
Yeah, Lewis Howes. I like Lewis Howes a lot. I connect with his podcast. Who else?
I like Tim Ferriss. I love Tim Ferriss' podcast.
Yep. Tim Ferriss is another great one. My favorite book is The Go-Giver. I love The Go-Giver. Highly recommend. If anybody hasn't read that book, it's a simple, easy read. And that book just really resonated with me, The Go-Giver.
Gotcha. Okay. Good stuff. I mean, Ian and I will share as well. I mean, I used to pretty much listen to everything Russell Brunson put out. And I mean, like I was telling Alex, I was one of his early members in his mastermind group. And, you know, in his inner circle, my business partner, Chris, and I jumped all in with it because we were a firm believer of it. And, you know, Russell, similar to like Gary Vee, you kind of just eventually, not that you get burned out, but there's just so much content, so much information, and it's all good. But at the same time, it's hard to do all of them. But, you know, circling back on some here and there are obviously good. And, you know, one of the reasons why, you know, Ian and I started this podcast webcast. And I mean, I already have a bunch of podcasts going on. I have other shows going on. I have a ton of other stuff going on, but we decided to do this one as well, was because this is the time to do it. And it is somewhat our responsibility to share our advice with all of our audience and all of our listeners and all of our clients, because we're on the front lines. We're all doing this every single day. There's not many other investors that are involved in that many transactions, either from, you know, us on the lending side, Ian on the rental side, you guys on your side. So it is partially the obligation to provide that content to them. But at the same time, every single person that we've talked to who have been through the ups and downs of the economy and the real estate market over the last so on years. I mean, I've been in it since right out of college, which was in the early 2000s. So really mine was like one. And again, that was somewhat lucky, and Steve, yours might have been somewhat lucky too, just kind of being in the right place at the right time, and having liquidity before we started our hard money lending company and flipping houses besides that. But the biggest trend is these are the times to go all in with marketing efforts, because everyone else is sidelined. Potential ad costs potentially are going to be lower right now. You can spend more money on that. These are the times that a lot of people are getting out of the game. I mean, I'm sure you're aware that pretty much every institutional backed private lender or hard money lender, I don't know if I want to call them hard or private because they're all bank backed, institutional backed, but regardless, most of them went out of business, or has paused, I should say. I don't want to say out of business. A lot of them are not originating. We have capital. We're going to continue to lend. And I think a lot of people, right now, this is the time to market. This is the time. I don't want to necessarily say all in, but as deals are coming in and it's business as usual, it's easy to kind of transact those deals. Now's the time of, hey, let's figure out where I want to be down the road today and tomorrow and in 10 years from now, and figure out my new action plan and adjust and adapt to what's currently happening in the market and throw it out there. And, and I'm not saying, do anything too crazy with direct mail right now to distress sellers who are potentially in an unfortunate time. But the point is to at least strategize and put something in place so when the right time comes about, you're potentially right in front of them with one or two other investors instead of 100 other investors that they're used to getting direct mail pieces from.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, I want to throw something out there. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we're also going to see now's the time where it's going to kind of separate, business owners and entrepreneurs from guys that are just guys or girls that are just kind of dabbling out there. Right. So it's going to kind of weed out a lot of, I hate to say the newbies that have come in that don't have the staying power, but it was, let's be honest, guys, this business can make up for a lot of mistakes. The fact that we're in a business in the market we were in where we could make a mistake and still come out 20, 30, 40 grand ahead, those days are numbered, I think, so we have to be a lot smarter.
100%. We just talked about that exact thing yesterday, that, the market going like this, you could screw up. And as it was screwing up, you still had a chance to make money. And those days are 100% gone. I'm sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was actually going to go to a different direction, so I'm glad that you guys kept going with that. And so here's what I like about what you guys are doing. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this on a national basis, but Alex and I, we run Ascend, which is a nationally based mastermind and coaching program. But what we do is we have just really poured into our members here in the past few weeks since this is happening. And you guys have probably noticed this happen on a national trend. This industry has gone like this just in the past few weeks, and everybody is really kind of running to each other. So, but I also realize that on the other side of that coin, there are those who are kind of hunkering down in fear and kind of becoming a lone wolf. And, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I want to bring this up because I think it's so crucial for us to connect and to keep abreast of what's happening in different parts of the country right now, because that's how we see trends as it happens. I mean, I remember from my own involvement in a mastermind back in 2008, I was able to get out in front of a lot of the stuff that was happening because I had peers in the mastermind who were privately revealing strategies that was working for them in their markets that was not common knowledge. I just want to throw that out there. I think right now, if any time, there is the time to be running to things like this and to groups like that we run. Get plugged in, especially during these times.
Yeah, and it's so easy nowadays that I think you can go pretty much anywhere on the internet and find something that's going to resonate with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the end, sure, the four of us are talking and we might only connect with half the people that are watching, but
right.
If we can help one person, that's great, right?
Yeah,
that's right. And that ultimately you should be able to find somebody. So we're talking about the lone wolves, and I know the newbies have come up a few times. Obviously we're more on the experience side, so we have a different outlook on things, coming to liquidity and long-term type goals. What do we do? But what do we say to the newbies? What do we say to them? The guys that were like, yo, I was going to just jump into my first rental, or I bought my first property. This is all going on, and I'm afraid. What do we say to them?
I mean, for me, my message might be a little bit different than what most people would say. I would say congratulations. I'd say you're jumping in at an amazing time. And I'm one that believes that, I get asked sometimes from newbies, when's the right time to get into real estate? I say now. like no matter what market we're in. But the truth of the matter is that like this is an amazing opportunity for newbies to be in there. Now, look, I think you have to educate yourself, and there's a fine line between educate and over analysis paralysis and doing nothing but education. We all know the weekend seminar warriors, right? That they know everything, but they don't do anything. That's not where you want to be either. I always say the biggest mistake I made, and it was a $50,000 mistake back in 2007, is I experienced success pretty early on in this business, but I also I had a lot of battle scars and brain damage in the process. And I didn't have a coach. I didn't have somebody that has been there, done that can kind of walk alongside me. So the earlier you can invest in yourself, the better. You are your best asset. Like you are the one nobody can take away. The money's going to come and go. Time, once it's gone, but you are your best investment. So invest in yourself, whether that's a mastermind, a coach, the books you read, podcasts and webcasts like what Jason and Ian are putting on, plug into the right people, to the right community, invest in yourself. But then it's so overused, right? So I'm trying to think of a different phrase other than take action, but you're going to learn more by doing than by actually just like reading and hearing about it. So whenever it's the speed of implementation, right? How quickly are you going to hear something and then go apply it? And if you fail, great, you learn something from it, but keep going.
100% agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. 100. That's right. And listen, and I've used a good way to represent that as well. So you have education over here and you have execution over here. Mm-hmm. And some people are all education, no execution. Other people are all execution, no education. And that's how you really get somebody hurt, either a seller or yourself. But the one that does it themselves, it's learn a little bit, execute. Learn a little bit, execute. Learn how to wholesale, figure out how to do it, and then wholesale. Figure out how to do the next thing. And if you're too far, I mean, I'll tell you from the lending side, because obviously I've seen a lot of real estate investors that have done really good projects, and a lot of that have also, unfortunately failed. And a lot of our first time, and I know we all kind of use the term newbie, and I don't know if that's a bad word or not, but beginner, newer, whatever the case is.
We were all beginners at some point, right?
But that's true. But a lot of the new first-time flips that we've ever done for investors tend to work out great. Now, granted, most of them have been successful in a different industry, right? So whatever they touch eventually is going to turn into something positive, because they've all done that. It's not like they just came out of the streets and said, "Hey, I want to get into real estate investment. I don't have any money. I don't have any resources. I don't even really care. I could flip the house and make 20 grand." So in general, I agree. And honestly, I love doing loans to real estate investors that even do real estate as a side job, and it's not their full-time income. They have their normal stability. They have their normal W-2 income, and usually it's from a business or a job that they like, that they're involved in to begin with. Because let's be honest, being a full-time real estate investor sometimes isn't as cracked out as most people think it is. It's hard work. And, if you're trying to make a full-time income doing real estate with the inconsistencies and having to do deals and all the other stuff, it's, sometimes it's hard for a lot of people. So there's nothing wrong with having a good, and usually my recommendation for most of them is, hey, I want to continue to do more deals so I can quit my day job. And it's, don't quit your day job just yet. Yeah. Be happy with what you're currently doing and potentially add this. It's a great supplemental income stream.
Agreed. I think the last thing I'll throw in there really quick is, and this might sound cliche, but it's so true, is learn to enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey. The destination is short-lived. It's going to come and go, and then you're going to set your sights on a new mark. So it's who you're becoming in the process of this journey, right? So really embrace that, I guess, is what I want to try to drive home, I guess.
Sweet.
Good.
No, sweet. Appreciate it. Any last words? Maybe Steve, any other kind of quick recommendations? Maybe a little plug for what you guys are currently up to?
Man, I love the book, Power of Positive Thinking. That's one of the
Norman
books
Vincent
that
Peale.
really just changed my life. Yeah, Norman Vincent Peale. So highly recommend it. But yeah, man, I think this is a great time to get started. In fact, I think any time is a good time to get started. But here's the thing for newbies: if they can make money right now, then they'll be able to make money in any market. And so, don't use, real investors don't try to time markets, or don't try to pick the right time to get started or whatever. Just get out there. But look, we already talked about on this call how this is a great time to practice talking to sellers. everybody's on the phone right now. Nobody really is necessarily belly to belly right now. So get on the phone and start talking to sellers. They're motivated. Sellers are motivated right now. They're scared, So great time to get started for sure.
Yep.
Cool. Well, we appreciate it. How can everybody find you guys?
So I'm Steve Cavanaugh on Facebook. I've been tagged on this video here, so feel free to friend request me or whatever. Yep.
How about yourself, Alex?
Alex Pardow. You can find me on Instagram, Alex Pardow 25 or Facebook. Also encourage you guys to plug into the Flip Empire show. Published north of 400 episodes at this point, twice a week. Really enjoy that platform and just kind of giving. And then obviously, if anybody is interested in just learning more about what we're doing with Ascend, ascendyoursuccess.com, which a 5-second commercial. It's basically, we want to work with entrepreneurs that essentially want a better life and a better business. So it's not a real estate mastermind per se, but people that put life first, and then we help them design a business to create the life they want.
Excellent. Ian, you got any last words?
No, man. Thanks, guys. I always enjoy talking to you. I could see me talking. I'm sure me, Alex, Steve, and Jason, we could all talk for the next 3 hours because there's so much to talk about. But all of our time is valuable. So we really enjoyed it. So
excellent. Yeah. I appreciate it, both you guys again. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna remove you two from the stream real quick because Ian and I are gonna talk about what we got going on for our audience tomorrow.
All right, guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Maybe we'll do it again when the things change up in a few months.
Sounds good,
guys. Keep up the good work.
Care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Happy day.
All right, good stuff, Ian. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm glad we're able to bring those guys on. Not only in a different market, but at the other side, just a little bit different. Talk a little bit more mindset and things like that.
Well, and I hope the mindset things translated to people. I know we were going a mile a minute, but honestly, we should probably have them for one of the real estate meetups where we can dedicate a true hour or so with them. Discuss that because it is very important. We did get a comment. We've been getting a few comments that, people are enjoying the show, and did have someone reach out and say, hey, man, you guys seem awfully positive. Well, it's easy to be positive, right? Like, we all want to see the other side of things. I get it. You need to be cautious of, like, all the markets are tied together, oil and when you look at the oh my God, I'm losing my mind. People that travel, the travel industry, and all those types, everything is interconnected. The car industry, most people don't realize it. It's all interconnected. And yeah, all of that is completely scary. But like you've been saying over the past few weeks, and even today, if there's the right deal and you can do the right deal, why not do it? So yeah, back to Steve and Alex. I hope the mindset.
Well, let me ask you this question. What did I text you 7 a.m. this morning?
Yeah.
The quote from Simon. You remember what that was?
I don't remember it word for word, but I'll give you my version of it.
Go tell your version, because that's super important. Like, I'm not going to apologize for anybody that I'm being super optimistic right now. Like, I'm going to be optimistic 365 days of the year. If not, why? Of course I'm going to be optimistic. There's a time to buy, sell, lend, invest, everything. If times are good, times are bad, stuff staying even. We talk about that every show. It's super important. This is the time, a better time than any other time, to be super, super optimistic.
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree. I think it's the time now, and basically the gist of the quote that I took away from it is now is the time to adapt and overcome. There have been a few days, like Steve and Alex were saying, I was truly embracing the doom and gloom, going, holy shit, excuse my French, but literally, holy shit, what am I going to do on the other side of this? Like, what happens if? What happens why? What happens X? And there was some days where I've just been like, oh my God, what does it look like in the future? But with that being said, what I took away from Simon Sinek's quote and his video to his members or his team members, is that people didn't adapt and overcome when the internet came. Blockbuster, streaming service, Uber, the taxi cabs didn't adapt and overcome. We need to, you as a real estate investor, whether you're new, experienced, you own 1,000 houses or you own one house, now is the time to adapt and overcome and work through the situations that we have presented before us. And like Steve said, I think towards the end of the call, or Alex said, that if you can make money in this market and you can survive in this market, you should be able to survive any market here in the future. And that's kind of my takeaway, both from the quote you sent me this morning and from what these guys.
I agree. And don't, just because we use the word optimistic doesn't necessarily mean that we're not being cautious. But at the same time, we're going to be optimistic. Is a powerful word, and it's it's important.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, we appreciate the feedback. It's good that people are taking the time to think about what we're saying, resonating it back to the business, and ultimately it's coming out of them and saying, okay, well, this is what I think. And it's not just one conversation. I've had several conversations, and the fact that look, we're on Facebook, Instagram, whatever these direct message things are, shoot them to us. Like, we would love to converse. There's things going on. We would love to hear what other people are thinking, and ultimately be able to help you work through your situation. So that's kind of where we're at with it. So
starting tomorrow on Fridays, we have a new little segment. It's called Case Study Segment. So every Friday we're going to do a live case study, either with ourselves of a property that we bought, lent on, rented out, or with somebody else. Tomorrow, tell everybody real quick who we're bringing on tomorrow, Ian, and like a 30-second spiel about it.
Okay, so tomorrow we're bringing on Donnie Fisher from RPS. He's our property manager out in West Virginia, the 34-unit building that we bought January 31st, just prior to this whole pandemic thing going on. We'll discuss what he's seeing in his marketplace, Charlestown, West Virginia, that whole little corridor, seeing how people are paying rents, what they're doing to work through their situation, type of forbearance agreements they've come up with their renters to be able to navigate this situation. But then we're going to deep dive not only how Donnie has inserted himself as a property manager and being able to locate and find deals for other real estate investors, but ultimately how we connected on the deal, and what the future holds for our deal, and why we liked it, and how ultimately we plan on getting to the end, and what it looks like for us, not only navigating this situation, but overall the property
Nice.
in itself. Sorry.
Nice. All right. Well, if anyone else has any case studies that they want to share publicly, and if you want to just send them to us, you can email me at jason@hardmoneybankers.com or ian@equitywarehouse.com, or chat them, put a comment, or if you want to hop on live, we'll do that as well. And we'll get some good ones. Obviously, over the years, the best content's always been, and the information to follow is case studies of what other local investors and operators are currently doing in this market. So we'll be able to share all that stuff with you as well. So,
do we get to? Do we have a big release next week? Are we there yet?
What's next week?
Then do we have a name to the show yet? I mean, we've been doing.
We're gonna rebrand this show. Well, that's coming soon.
Coming soon? All right, not next week. But either way, Friday,
tomorrow. That might be next week, but it's not happening right now.
We got Donnie Fisher. It'll be a good conversation, just because it's the first time we've ever really bought anything afar. It's an hour away. So it'll be a real interesting discussion to see. You can see how we ultimately got comfortable with the deal, how we structured the deal with the partner, and been able to work through the whole situation. So
sweet. All right. Any final last words?
We need to figure out how to fix the live stream. It didn't work again on my side. So
I know how to do it on your side.
We might go live again. If we go live, it's just because we're doing some tests. But no, seriously, everybody enjoy their weekend. I think it's supposed to be cold, miserable, but whatever. Let's get through this thing. Work on your real estate business. If you got some time inside, some time away, Alex said, don't ignore your kids. But if you got some free time to yourself, you get your work done. Get out there, get it done, get yourself ready. Because
now's the time to do it. Most people I know have been a lot busier now than they've been, in the past. And, it's tough right now because there's a lot of other distractions, but, you time block and you do it the right way, and you'll end up on top. So,
there's talks.
All right. What time are we doing tomorrow?
Donnie is not confirmed.
All right. We're gonna probably do 1:30 tomorrow. We had to do it a little bit earlier today because I've got another mastermind group that I'm a part of this afternoon again. And Steve and Alex had one as well, and Ian has to go chase fire trucks. So we're all jammed up.
At Brotherhood Buffs, if you want to watch something fun, it's exciting. It's wholesome.
All right, man. All right, guys. Till next time.